My name is Lauren, and I've always prided myself on being a dedicated wife and mother. But one sunny afternoon on the balcony, a simple act of kindness ignited a spark within me that would change the course of my life. I was perched precariously on a rickety stool, stringing lights across the balcony railings for my daughter Casey's birthday party. The golden sunlight poured in, casting a warm glow over the scene. The preparations, though rewarding, had mostly fallen on my shoulders. My husband Greg was, as always, too busy to help. As I stretched for another strand of lights, a deep voice startled me. "Need a hand with that, Mrs. Watson?" I turned quickly to see Michael, my neighbor Sarah's son, standing just inside the open balcony door. His presence was unexpected, and his intense gaze unsettled me. "Oh, Michael." "That would be wonderful," I stammered, carefully stepping off the stool as he approached. His hand reached out to steady me as I stepped down, and in that fleeting moment, our hands brushed. A strange sensation, a mix of excitement and unease, rippled through me. It was just a simple touch, yet it left my heart racing. "Just got back from college," Michael said with a mischievous glint in his eye. "Thought you might need a little help." "That's very thoughtful," I replied, guiding him to the lights tangled on the table nearby. As we worked side by side on the balcony, I couldn't help but notice how much he had changed. He seemed more confident, more mature. And every time our hands accidentally touched, it felt as though an electric spark ignited within me. "How's college going?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "The usual studies, social life, all of that," he replied, flashing a playful smile. "But it's nice to be home. Everything feels so much calmer." "I can imagine," I said with a nervous laugh. "Casey talks about you all the time." "Only good things, I hope," he replied with a grin, his eyes meeting mine. For a brief moment, time seemed to stand still. A silent understanding passed between us, a connection that was both thrilling and terrifying. As the evening rolled in, the balcony transformed into the hub of the party. The twinkling lights we had hung earlier cast a magical glow, and laughter and chatter filled the air. Michael, with his easy charm and infectious laughter, became the center of attention. Yet, even amidst the crowd, every glance we exchanged sent a familiar thrill through me. Later, as I stood by the drinks table, Michael approached with a glass in hand. "Save the last one for Casey's favorite," he said with a teasing smile as he handed it to me. Our fingers brushed again, sending a jolt of electricity through me. I took a sip, the sweetness masking the turmoil brewing within. As the night wore on, we found ourselves gravitating toward the quieter corner of the balcony. The dim light from the lanterns, the soft hum of music, and the privacy of the moment created an atmosphere that felt strangely intimate. "Lauren," he said, his voice softer now, "do you ever wish for something more than the routine?" I let out a nervous laugh, avoiding his gaze. "Oh, you know, choosing new balcony plants can be pretty thrilling." He chuckled, his gaze lingering on my face. "Maybe you need a little more excitement in your life." His words hung in the air, heavy with implication. Before I could respond, Casey's cheerful voice interrupted us, breaking the moment. "Looks like you've got the best helper in the house, Mom," she teased, her tone playful but with a hint of curiosity. I blushed, trying to mask the swirl of emotions inside me. "Michael's always been a good neighbor," I said softly, avoiding his gaze as I turned away. As the night drew to a close, Michael's lingering touch as he handed me another decoration left me unsettled. The unspoken connection between us felt as fragile as it was dangerous. As I stepped back into the house, my heart was a storm of emotions: guilt, exhilaration, and a longing I couldn't ignore. The balcony, once just a quiet retreat, now held the memory of a connection that was as thrilling as it was forbidden. "Lauren," he said, using my first name for the first time, his voice laced with curiosity. "What's life like in the suburbs? Surely it's not all parties and balcony plant arrangements." I laughed, feeling a surprising sense of ease. "Oh, it's wild," I teased, a smile playing on my lips. "Sometimes, choosing the perfect set of balcony lights can be the highlight of the day." He chuckled, his gaze lingering on my face a moment too long. "Sounds thrilling. Maybe you need a little more excitement in your life," he said, his voice soft yet deliberate. His words hung in the air between us, heavy with a provocative suggestion I wasn't sure how to respond to. Just as I opened my mouth to say something, Casey's cheerful voice rang out from the doorway, interrupting the moment. "Seems like you've charmed the most important lady here, Michael," she teased, her tone playful but tinged with curiosity. I blushed, attempting to hide my growing feelings. "I've always had a soft spot for your family, Casey," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. Michael gave me a knowing look, his eyes filled with a silent understanding that left me both exhilarated and unnerved. As the party on the balcony wound down, I found myself unable to shake the feeling that something extraordinary had begun, a spark ignited by a simple touch and a fleeting glance that had the potential to consume me entirely. The night ended with Michael's hand brushing mine as he handed me a decoration, a touch that lingered just a second too long. It was a silent promise, one that left me breathless and conflicted. As I stepped back into the house, the cool breeze followed me, carrying with it the weight of what had just transpired. A mix of relief and anticipation swirled within me. I had crossed a line, a boundary I shouldn't have approached, yet the allure of the forbidden was intoxicating. The days that followed were a blur. The balcony, once a serene retreat, now held bittersweet memories. Every glance at the twinkling lights we had hung together, every fleeting brush of a hand, brought back the thrill and danger of that night. Desperate to escape the confines of my suburban life, I sought solace on the balcony one quiet evening. I leaned against the railing, the aroma of distant barbecues and the hum of cicadas filling the air. As I closed my eyes, a familiar voice broke through my thoughts. "Lauren." What a pleasant surprise. My eyes snapped open, and there was Michael, standing just outside the door with a boyish grin. "Care to join me for some fresh air?" he asked, motioning to the empty chair beside me. My heart raced as I walked over to join him. That same familiar spark ignited the moment our eyes met, a dangerous flame threatening to consume me. We sat side by side, the stars scattered across the night sky above us, as conversation flowed effortlessly. We laughed, shared stories, and spoke as though we'd known each other for years. With every passing moment, our connection deepened, each word weaving an invisible bond between us. "You know, Lauren," Michael said, leaning in slightly, his voice dropping to a near whisper, "you're not at all what I expected from Greg's wife. I thought you'd be more reserved, more ordinary." I couldn't help but laugh, a warm flush creeping up my neck. "I'll take that as a compliment," I replied, feeling an unexpected surge of confidence. As we talked, I realized I was drawn to him not just for his charm and intelligence, but for his ability to see me in a way no one else had. He made me feel alive, awakened a part of me I thought had long been dormant. When it was time to part, Michael's gaze lingered, his voice low and intimate. "I really enjoyed this, Lauren. Maybe we could do it again sometime?" My heart raced, and before I could stop myself, I replied, "Yes, I'd like that." The words slipped out, carried on the cool night breeze. The thrill of the forbidden, the danger of the unknown, it was intoxicating. In the days that followed, I found myself consumed by thoughts of Michael. Every stolen glance, every fleeting touch on the balcony, ignited a fire within me that I couldn't extinguish. I knew it was wrong, but I couldn't resist the pull. One rainy afternoon, as I struggled with a stubborn planter on the balcony, I remembered Michael's knack for solving problems. Without thinking, I grabbed my phone and dialed his number. To my surprise, he answered almost immediately. "I'll be right over," he said without hesitation. When he arrived, the tension between us was palpable. As he leaned over to adjust the planter, our bodies were just inches apart. A stray touch, a stolen glance, it was electric. And then, it happened. Our lips met, the world around us disappearing as we surrendered to the undeniable connection that had been building for weeks. "We can't do this, Michael," I whispered, my voice trembling. "I know," he replied, regret lacing his tone. The balcony, once a place of quiet solitude, now carried the weight of a love too forbidden to ignore. Every stolen glance on the balcony sent a spark of desire through me. And then it happened, our lips met in a passionate kiss under the soft glow of the twinkling lights. It was intense, desperate, a culmination of weeks of longing and restraint. "We can't do this, Michael," I whispered, my voice trembling and barely audible over the rustle of the breeze. "I know," he replied, his voice heavy with regret, his eyes reflecting the same turmoil I felt. We finished arranging the balcony in silence, the weight of our actions hanging heavily in the cool night air. When he finally left, I leaned against the doorway, my heart pounding uncontrollably. The line had been crossed, and there was no turning back. The days that followed were a whirlwind of emotions. I tried to distance myself, to focus on my family and return to normalcy, but the pull of our forbidden connection was too strong. The balcony, once my haven of peace, had become a place laden with bittersweet memories. Every glance at the lights, every touch of the railing, brought back the thrill and danger of that night. One morning, as the sunlight spilled onto the balcony, my phone rang. It was Michael. "Lauren, hi," he said, his voice warm and inviting. "I've been thinking. Maybe we should talk." My heart raced as I hesitated, then agreed. That evening, as the golden light turned to twilight, I stepped onto the balcony to find him already there, leaning casually against the railing. I had chosen a light green dress that moved with the breeze, a deliberate choice to appear composed, though my heart thundered in anticipation. Michael's gaze swept over me, and he smiled softly. "You look stunning," he said, his voice low, his eyes lingering on me. I blushed, struggling to maintain my composure. "Thank you, Michael. What did you want to talk about?" "US," he replied, his tone serious yet tender. "I can't stop thinking about you. I know it's wrong, but I needed you to know how I feel." His confession sent a shockwave through me. "Michael," I began, but he stepped closer, his hand brushing against mine as we stood by the railing. "I think about you every day, Lauren. Every minute. And I know it's complicated, but I can't fight these feelings anymore." The weight of his words left me breathless. I looked into his eyes, filled with longing and passion. Without thinking, I closed the gap between us and kissed him. The kiss was intense, desperate, a release of everything we had been holding back. "I want to be with you too," I whispered, my voice breaking under the weight of my own confession. In that moment, the world seemed to fade away. The city lights below blurred into nothingness. All that mattered was us, our connection, our forbidden love. We knew the path ahead would be fraught with challenges, but for now we were together, and that was all that mattered. The days that followed became a pattern of stolen glances and secret meetings on the balcony. Every encounter, every touch, every lingering gaze only intensified the fire between us. The balcony had transformed into a sanctuary, a world where we could exist outside the constraints of reality. One evening, as we stood together under the dim light of the string lights, Michael took my hand. "I can't keep pretending, Lauren," he said, his voice trembling. "I want to be with you fully, completely." His words mirrored the desire burning within me. I knew the risks, the sacrifices we would have to make, but in that moment, his touch was the only thing grounding me. One day, Michael texted me, "Lauren, let's meet on the balcony tonight. I need to talk to you." My heart pounded as I prepared to meet him. The night air was cool, and the stars were beginning to peek through the darkening sky. I chose a delicate ivory dress, light and flowing. It seemed to fit the mood of the evening, though it barely concealed my growing desperation. As I stepped onto the balcony, there he was, leaning casually against the railing, the string lights casting a warm glow on his face. His expression was a mix of anticipation and anxiety. "Lauren," he began, his voice trembling, "I can't hide this anymore. I think about you every day. Every minute." His words echoed in my mind, a sweet poison I couldn't resist. I stepped closer, my hand brushing against his. The electric connection between us was undeniable, almost magnetic. "Michael," I whispered, my voice barely audible, "I can't stop thinking about you either." The tension broke in an instant as our lips met in a passionate kiss. The world around us, the distant city lights, the soft rustling of the leaves faded away, leaving only us. Our bodies intertwined as we gave in to the emotions we had been holding back for so long. "I want to be with you." No matter what Michael said, his voice steady, his eyes locked on mine with unshakable determination. I knew he was right. We couldn't deny our feelings any longer. The risks loomed large. But the reward, the possibility of a love that felt this consuming, was too sweet to resist. Our secret meetings on the balcony became a sanctuary, a stolen escape from the confines of our ordinary lives. Each encounter was filled with passion and tenderness. Every glance and touch more intoxicating than the last. On clear nights we would sit beneath the string lights, our whispers blending into the soft hum of the night. "I love you," Lauren, Michael said one evening, his voice barely a whisper as he took my hand under the soft glow of the lights. Tears welled in my eyes as I whispered back, "I love you too, Michael." Our kiss in that moment was more than just an expression of desire, it was a promise, a declaration of a love we weren't sure we could sustain. The balcony became our refuge, a space where we cherished every stolen moment. Yet, we knew our happiness was fragile, like the flickering lights above us, a delicate balance between desire and reality. One quiet afternoon, when I was home alone, I received another text from Michael. "Lauren, I want to see you. Can I come over?" My heart raced with a mixture of excitement and fear. I knew the risk was immense, but the longing for him was undeniable. "Yes," I replied, my fingers trembling as I hit send. The knock on the door sent a surge of adrenaline coursing through me. When I opened it, Michael stood there, his eyes burning with desire. He stepped inside, and his gaze lingered on me as I led him to the balcony. "Lauren, you look stunning," he whispered, his voice husky, the glow of the lights accentuating every word. Blushing, I felt the heat rise to my cheeks. "Thank you, Michael. I've missed you so much." Our lips met again in a passionate kiss, the world outside disappearing as our bodies pressed against the cool balcony railing. His hands roamed my body, igniting a fire within me I couldn't suppress. "I can't wait any longer," he murmured, his breath hot against my skin. "I want to be with you." "I want to be with you too," I replied, my voice trembling, every ounce of hesitation melting away. In that moment, all inhibition vanished. We surrendered to our desires, our love consuming us entirely. The balcony transformed into our world, where passion and longing replaced the reality we both sought to escape. Michael's touch was gentle yet deliberate, every caress and every kiss a testament to his love and desire. As our bodies intertwined, I felt a sense of euphoria, a connection that went far beyond the physical. When we finally pulled apart, our breaths were ragged, and our eyes met, filled with unspoken longing. "I love you, Michael," I whispered, my voice soft but sure. "I love you too, Lauren," he replied, his tone thick with emotion. We lay there under the balcony lights, our hearts racing in unison. The world outside faded away, replaced by a universe of pure passion and love. In those moments, nothing else mattered. But as days turned into weeks, the intensity of our feelings only grew stronger. Yet, so did the guilt that began to gnaw at me. I had betrayed Greg, a man who had loved and cherished me, the father of my child. He was kind, devoted, and constant, a presence I had taken for granted. Blinded by my desires, I had crossed a line I could never uncross. The weight of my betrayal was unbearable. I knew a choice had to be made, a difficult and painful decision that would change everything.